WSIC and Purple Heart Homes present Putting the Pieces Back Together, a forum for veterans and the community to connect. Here are your hosts, veterans John Galena and Brad Borders.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Thursday's episode of Putting the Pieces Back Together. I'm John Galena.
I'm Brad Borders.
And we are happy to be here with you this morning. Got a really exciting show this morning. Guest that we've been anticipating for a couple of weeks, and so we're eager to get right into the show. And Brad, we had a couple more listeners join us last week.
Yeah, we are up to 7 listeners worldwide now. So,
yeah, worldwide,
pretty awesome.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Pretty impressive. My wife's in the studio today.
Yeah, it's always great to see Miss Borders.
And I'm wearing a shirt that I got for Christmas from one of our employees at Purple Heart Homes, Miss Sandy Van Warmer. It says, "Never underestimate an old man on a bicycle." So
I'm gonna tell you what, you might take that hill.
That's right. Good. So, it's weird, man. We had I'm connected with some dudes that ride bicycles over in the UK. So there's a guy named Riley Harvey over there that does some online racing and stuff. And anyhow, he watched the show on Facebook last week and shared it with some of his friends. So we have people in the UK listening to us. We are officially international.
Officially international. Wow, that's amazing. I'm just glad that we got more than 3 listeners.
Yes, it's up to 8 now, counting Tammy.
There we go. That's great.
Pretty awesome.
So today's a significant day in military history.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the beginning of the Battle of Bulge happened in 1944 today. So for you World War II history buffs, it was sort of a linchpin moment in the war in Europe. And a bunch of fellas from the 82nd Airborne, 101st Airborne were toe-to-toe with the Germans, and it was super cold, and it didn't look good for a while, and the weather was bad, and General Patton was worried that they couldn't get any air cover. He actually sent out his chaplain. His chaplain wrote a prayer, and you can still find that online. He wrote a prayer that God would clear up the skies for the air cover, and the weather broke, and turned out good. For our side. But we have a personal connection to the Battle of the Bulge because my wife's grandfather, Zeb Wilson from Iredell County, got drafted when he was about 27 years old. He was old to get drafted. First day on the battlefield in the Battle of the Bulge, his unit got overrun, and he got captured and spent the rest of the war in a German prison camp, bless his heart.
Wow.
And so... that's our connection to the Battle of the Bulge.
And so, Brad, I understand you later preached for his funeral while you were deployed in Iraq.
I did.
You did the funeral via video from Iraq.
He died on Christmas Day, 2010, and I was in Iraq, and so I didn't do it live. I had to record it, I think, and then we had to email it. It took like 10 hours to email it because the file was big and the internet was slow, and so I recorded it from a Connex, inside a Connex in Tal Afar, close to the Syrian border. So there you go.
What an amazing story. You know, it's interesting. I got a little bit of a personal connection there as well. The unit I served in, North Carolina National Guard, otherwise known as the 30th Infantry Division, served in World War II and came to the rescue of many of those that were fighting in the Battle of the Bulge.
You guys are always figuring out some way that the 30th can come to the rescue of someone.
Oh, that's right. They're always coming to the rescue.
Always, yes.
You know, in fact, just here about 2.5 years ago, President Trump had issued the Presidential Unit Citation for the efforts that the 30th Division,
the 30th, of course.
They were known as Roosevelt's SS. I mean, they were feared by the Panzer units. That's
really.
Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Check it out in history. But speaking of airborne, let's just jump right into our guest today, Major General retired Chuck Swannack, 1971 West Point graduate. As I understand, graduated in the top 10% of his class, which is a feat on top of a feat. I mean, that is just amazing. But commanded the famed 82nd Airborne Division in the invasion of Iraq in 2003 with 123 jumps. I think he might not have quite as many landings. We'll hear more about that in a minute. A Ranger Tab, Legion of Merit recipient, so much more, but truly a general of generals, and one that all the troops truly adore and love. And so we're happy to have you with us today. So thank you, General.
You got me blushing.
Yeah, good to have you here.
Good stuff, but
All
I was
the
very
way.
blessed to in my military career and had a lot of fun serving with paratroopers, light infantry, rangers around the world. So,
awesome.
and doing our nation's business.
How in the world did you come to join the military? And I've heard it might have had something to do with basketball.
Well, I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, right up the road.
That's right.
Graduated from R.J. Reynolds High School, and my dad had a job there and working defense projects for Bell Telephone Laboratories back at the time. He had somebody who worked for him who was a 1952 West Point graduate that came and talked to him, and they said, hey, that sounds like a pretty interesting thing to do. But you're right, playing a lot of sports. I was known more for sports than I was ever academics or athletics. But I had a lot of fun doing that, and he encouraged me that West Point was a great education, so I applied. And I got a appointment to West Point and went up there and did pretty good, had a lot of fun, and after the first year, had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that first year's no
commissioned.
Joke, is it?
Got commissioned. I was graduated 69 out of 720 in the class.
Not bad.
So, our public school education's pretty good still, I think. And I went out and chose infantry as my branch and Airborne Ranger School, and then my first assignment was in Berlin, Germany. First thing they had me do, I did a Spandau changeover ceremony where Rudolf Hess was the only incarcerated individual back from
No kidding.
the German army.
No
Wow.
kidding. Wow.
Wow.
That was on the bad side of the wall, too, or is that the good side of the wall? That was.
No, we
that
were
was
on the
in
good side of the wall.
That was a good
Yeah,
side of the
we
wall.
were on the good side of the wall.
Yeah.
Now, my connection to basketball. Yeah, I was known as the Blonde Bomber up there by Mary Garber, who wrote sports in the Winston-Salem Journal-Sentinel. And I did get an opportunity to play for Bobby Knight, Dave
No
Bliss,
kidding.
and Don DeVoe 1 year as a plebe up at West Point. Played basketball, but then I took up a golf club and actually was captain of West Point golf team.
Did Bobby
so.
Knight throw any chairs while he was?
No, I
he
didn't
get
throw any
upset
chairs, but
with you?
I did see him pound a metal wall locker at St. John's one night.
That's
awesome.
That is hilarious.
That is fantastic.
So many great stories, General, and over the years I've had the opportunity to be able to work with you, serving veterans, and being able to raise money to help veterans with all kinds of needs, whether it's housing or service dogs or other needs that they may have. I don't really even know where to start. I mean, heard generals about Noriega and shotguns in Iraq with other generals, but share with us a funny story that you think our listeners might be interested to hear.
Well, after we fought north to Baghdad back in 2003, they parceled out the whole western part of Iraq to the 82nd Airborne Division. Had about 22,000 great individuals and veterans working for us out there and doing some good work. And one place that was kind of an oddball, and people may have heard about it and remember, it's a place called Fallujah. Fallujah was probably, a 16th century city still, believing in the tribal system and doing things like that. And so I talked to my boss. My boss at the time was General John Abizade, who I have a whole bunch of respect for, great guy. And I got him down one time and said, hey, you need to come down here before we leave, because we were due to rotate out of there at the end of March. And the U.S. Marine Corps, God bless them, for coming in there and replacing us. Mad Dog Mattis and Jim Conway and Jim Amos and all those great Marines. But I said, you got to come down there and see Fallujah. So he came in one time, and we went down into Fallujah. And just after we were in there talking to a battalion commander in the center, Iraqi battalion commander in the center of Fallujah, all of a sudden RPG went off and a bunch of machine gun fire. And so General Abizade said, what's that? And then the Iraqi battalion commander says, that's Fallujah. Well, anyway, so we a bunch of paratroopers went out there and quelled that real quick. And so we were standing outside and trying to figure out, what was really going on. And General Abizade turned to me and says, hey, Chuck, why are you carrying that shotgun? And so, in Iraq, the first time we went north, I had my Beretta pistol and a M4 carbine. The second time I went to Iraq, I took a shotgun because I didn't want to kill anybody around me. I just wanted to keep them away from me if I needed to with some buckshot. So I said, John, you got to understand right now, what we're seeing a lot of here in Fallujah is snipers. And so I didn't want to carry a weapon or just walk around with a pistol looking like an officer or something like that, because they might shoot me. So instead, I brought this shotgun. He looked at me, and after thinking a few seconds, he says, "Hey, Chuck, give me that shotgun." So anyway, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Another thing, John, you said I jumped 123 times, yeah. And I got a good phrase from General Maxwell Taylor, because I always ask, why do you jump out of perfectly good airplanes? Well, I used something from General Maxwell Taylor after World War II, and he said it this way. He says, "I don't like to jump out of perfectly good airplanes, but I sure like hanging around the people who do." And paratroopers are a real neat breed. I think paratroopers hanging around with them, and I'm pretty old, has kept me young, and I feel pretty young being pumped up with you guys today.
That's awesome.
Well, we really appreciate that.
Yeah,
And
great to have you.
I know Brad and I both served alongside a number of 82nd paratroopers over the years, and they are a great breed and some fearless warriors.
Yeah, no doubt, and they are pretty hardcore about their traditions. You'll be glad to know this, General, that I didn't realize how sacred Ardennes Boulevard was on Fort Bragg. And one morning I used to ride my bike with a lot of the guys from 3rd Special Forces Group where I served. And so I decided to take a shortcut about 6:30 one morning down Ardennes Boulevard with all the company formation runs going on. And in the 82nd, if you're a sergeant major or commander, you always wear a white T-shirt for PT. And there was a gentleman in a white T-shirt saw me riding my bike down Ardennes, which is closed during that time, and had a lot of colorful metaphors to say to me. And I just kept riding and going faster. I knew he couldn't catch me, so I just got on out of there. So.
A lot of traditions in Ardennes Street closed
Yeah,
in the morning.
you better
for
stay
PT.
off of there
You
on
better
your
stay
bicycle.
away.
Yeah, I won't do that again.
Some sergeant major come and talk to you.
I'm glad he didn't catch me. I might have gotten in trouble.
You're lucky he didn't get you off the bike and make
Oh,
you
he
do
probably
push-ups.
yeah.
Were you wearing your PT belt?
No,
Oh,
no
my
PT
goodness.
belt, no nothing. Yeah, I think I had like a red, white, and blue 3rd Special Forces Group cycling kit on. I was looking sharp. So
That's fantastic. Well, General, just as we think about our service, inevitably the goal is to come home, right? And the goal is to be able to come home and live a safe and peaceful life and be able to raise a family. But when we think about that, how should we think about the community supporting veterans when they return home? And what advice would you give to our listeners for how we can help reintegrate our veterans in their return?
Well, I guess you have to first of all understand, I ask all the listeners to kind of understand this one point. It says when somebody joins the military, they might go in there as Chuck Swannack, like I did, and thinking about self. As soon as you go through basic training or you go through beast barracks like I did, it's no more self, it's all about team. So the whole time you're in the military, it's about teams. You're on a team, you're part of a team, you love your team, you serve with your team, and if necessary, you give your life for your team. And so when you take off the uniform, what are you looking for?
another team.
Another team to be on. Exactly right. So that's what we got to think of when we take care of our veterans, because they're looking for a team to be on. Here's the best way I think communities can support that teamness or camaraderie necessary by our veterans. First of all, we got to find them a job. And they could be on a team and a job when they're on a job. Second of all, what we got to do is we got to find them a house to live in. In Purple Heart Homes, y'all do a great job. I mean, Veterans Bridge Homes does a good job. Charlotte actually does a pretty good job of helping them find homes. But there's a couple more things very, very important to now the family team. One is getting their kids into school. And the fourth, and I think the fellowship probably comes the best from this, is get them into a church. And so job, home, school, church. And when you've got those four opportunities to be on a team, I think our veteran and their family will do very, very well in the community. And so that's kind of how I think through it. Working with you and Purple Heart Homes, that's kind of what we try to do. We try to help them do all those things.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's near and dear to my heart. I think, in my involvement with Reboot Combat Recovery, those are along the same lines. We're always trying to integrate veterans back into a community of trusted allies, right, brothers and sisters. But what I hear too in there is mission and purpose as well. And everyone, no doubt, when I was on active duty, I knew my mission, I knew my purpose. It was very clearly laid out for me in SOPs and all the stuff that I had, and it was I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing every day. And I think sometimes when folks get out, they lack that, and when you don't have a direction in life, you're bound to hit anything, and that's what a lot of our veterans end up doing. And so thank you for those 4 points that are
Brad,
really
I think
critical.
of what you just talked about as task, purpose, and end state. I mean,
Yes.
that's what we kind of learn, what you're supposed to do, why you're doing it, and then what it ought to look like when you're done. And if you tell, I know if I told any paratroopers that, maybe not so many special forces, but if I told a lot of paratroopers that, they would make that stuff happen. No, I'm just kidding with you. But that's kind of the military is, if you give them task, purpose, and end state, they'll go make that vision happen.
Well, and it's so true, and I hear specifically from Junior over at Cook's Headers here recently. We had a conversation about a number of veterans that he had hired, and just what a wonderful job they were doing, and how when he gave them that task and purpose, they would go accomplish that end state with absolute fervence. That they were not going to not be successful. They were determined to be successful, and veterans do make such great employees. And I know on our team we have a number of veterans, but also the family members of veterans make great employees. It's not just that you have to have been through the training, but so much of that is exuded through the veteran into the family, and they have this idea of devout service, that they want to help, they want to be successful, and so you can't go wrong in hiring a veteran. Just to give that plug for folks, couldn't agree more. And without a community, without a church, without your kids being in school, really the home is kind of almost an insignificant point. You've got to have all of it. It's not just the home, right? If you have just the home but you don't have everything else, you're still not feeling whole. And without the job to be able to support the home and the school and the church and all those components, it's really essential to be a complete unit. And so thank you for that. And so share a little bit more with us the work that you're doing now and some of the teams that you're leading now. I know you've been involved in a number of other charities and a number of other missions, and kind of what is it that fills your purpose today?
Well, thanks for that, John. Yeah, as I was in the service, I used to tell every formation that I was at, as I was starting to retire, going and talking to everybody, that if I can ever do anything for you, just let me know. And so I'm all about giving back, to our country, but also giving back to our community, but especially giving back to veterans, whoever they are, whether they serve with me or not. We're all doing the same thing. And so right now, with Speedway Motorsports, I actually have the best job in Charlotte, that I get to bring veterans and their families to NASCAR races and show them a VIP experience, and it really resonates with the veterans because it's all about patriotism. It's all about a rush of an adrenaline like they understood, and thirdly, it's just a rivalry like the Army-Navy game I went to this last weekend, and congratulations, Navy, you outplayed us and beat. But anyway, that's one thing I do. I work with Patriot Military Family Foundation, and we, hand in hand with Purple Heart Homes, we try to take care of families, and we do that across all services, mostly the special ops community and the paratrooper community and the special ops venues that
you guys helped us get a Gold Star family into a new house.
We did down in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Yeah, it was a wonderful
working
experience.
Together with you all on that.
Yeah.
It's great stuff we're doing, trying to take care of the families.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Gold Star families are families that have lost a spouse in combat, and we had a very dear family, a young lady with 3 teenage sons. All were special needs kids, and they had some specific issues that housing that they were living in wasn't meeting their needs, and so Patriot Military Family Foundation came alongside of Purple Heart Homes and helped us accomplish a great goal for them.
And just to add in there for the listeners, both Patriot Military Family Foundation and Purple Heart Homes both work across state lines, and I know we've partnered on a number of projects from Mississippi to all the way up to Ohio. You came up to Ohio to help support a paratrooper that we were putting in a house that actually served in 2003 with you there in the invasion of Iraq.
That was a great day up in Cleveland, and we got that house for that paratrooper from the 82nd Airborne Division. And thank you for letting me go along to do that. Pumps me up.
We just had a comment from a Navy EOD tech, a squid, as he calls himself, said, "Thanks, General." So even the Navy's thankful to you, sir.
Well, we only root against each other one day a year.
Boy, that was a lot. We had a get together of Navy and Army veterans and Marines here to watch that game, and that got kind of ugly there for a minute.
You know, Brad, while we've got a minute here, let's just talk about that Army-Navy game. While
I'm trying to put it in my memory, John. I'm trying to move on.
The game may not have been great, the fundraiser that you organized through Challenge Hound was a success for the Army.
It was a success for veterans because we raised a little bit of money to help a veteran project, but Army won. Army manhandled the Navy in number of hours trained between the Saturday prior to the Army-Navy game and right up to kickoff, and we just manhandled them and put them in their place. And so that's what I'm planting my flag on that victory. I'm not worried about what happened on that football field up in the Northeast, and we'll move on to next year. So, we whoop Navy. That's all I'm saying.
Well, just let me tell you a little bit about a bucket list, because I was up at that Army-Navy game in MetLife Stadium this past Saturday.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's a bucket list, and the way I say that is because I've always desired to take my grandkids to an Army-Navy football game, and we went up there to New York City and went around New York City and did some stuff, walked the Brooklyn Bridge, but then on that Saturday took them to the Army-Navy game, and the fanfare, patriotism, the two teams, just all awesome. Wasn't real happy with the score, but congratulations, Navy.
The prisoner exchange that they do at the beginning of that game. So for one semester or up to the Army-Navy game, a cadet will go over to the Naval Academy, and a Naval Academy guy will come over to West Point, and they study at their respective schools. And then right before the game, they have prisoner exchange where they get to go back home. It's pretty awesome.
Great tradition.
That's a
really
great tradition.
Yep. Well, certainly one that we all look forward to every year, and that rivalry goes right in alongside the camaraderie and just the love and respect that we all have for one another. And General, it's been great being able to share a little bit of time with you this morning and share with the listeners just what it is that you've done and what the military's done and how reintegration is important. It's really a community effort. It's not just the charities. It's not just the veteran as an individual. It's not just the military's responsibility, but it's all of our responsibilities to help reintegrate those men and women that have worn the cloth of our nation, to be able to help them live their best lives and move forward. And so as we wrap up, is there any last words you'd like to add in or share with us, encouragement or support that people can be doing?
Yeah, I'd just like to, as kind of closing, help all of us to come together because, people say thank you for your service when they see a veteran. And I'll just ask you to take it one step further. Like, if you met me on the street and you say hi and thank you for your service, just take it and say, where'd you serve? What branch did you serve in? Mm-hmm. What time did you serve in? And that makes it a little bit more intimate, and it's a little personalization. And,
yeah, that's right.
And I think that'll help, as a community, us come together a lot more, because a veteran has values and our community has values. And guess what? They're all the same values. We're all trying to take care of our family and love one another. Just go ahead and do that.
Thanks.
General, thank you so much again for being here with us today. You're listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together with John and Brad and General Chuck Swannack, and we are here live in WSIC News Studios in Statesville, North Carolina. Thanks to our sponsors, Cook's Headers, Lake Mountain Coffee, and Welcome Home Veterans.
And don't forget to call our voicemail, 704-761-8328, or that's 704-761-8-FAT. That's the fat line. Make us feel loved.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together with John Galena.